So after some time, probably I'll give you some time so that you can also practice. I'll give you some of the links where you can refer them and you can practice also. All right, so now the key vault is ready. So if in case you, let's say, for example, we are defining up the key variables here itself, let's say the key value pairs. And say, for example, one of my variable, the key is like a username. It can be any variable, let's say, which you're going to use up. So that again depends what we are using within the code. So let's say admin. And let's say, okay, I've got one more key value pair itself. Let's say password. So this is exactly the same variable name which you're using up here, right? The variables which you're pointing within your code. So let's say password. There. All right. So once the information is there, now this is not a part of my organization, right? So if I go back here, and let's say, for example, if I go back to my pipelines, see there are two possibilities. Either I can use up a key vault task within my pipeline so that I can fetch the details from that key vault. One is that possibility. So when you're running up the build, when you're running up the release, at that piece of time, you can go and integrate and you can add up a task. So even the tasks are available. So if you see here, Azure key vault task, right? This is one. So one is a possibility, let's say, again, like say you can pull up and you can define within your YAML or classic either, whatever. The choice is yours. So one is a possibility that you can fetch up the details from the vault task, or if in case no, then probably one of the other choices becomes is that they can go to the library and from there itself you can say the variable group. But remember one thing which I told you earlier that you require a service connection. Until and unless you got a service connection, neither you can use in a task, neither you can use in a variable group. Now, as if this service is external and this is an Azure, and this portion is all within your own project. So here itself, I need to create up a connection, and that connection is nothing but your service connection. So whether I'm going to use it as a task, whether I'm going to use it as a variable group itself integrated with the key vault, then you require a service connection for this. How? Let's see. So if we go to the project setting, there itself you find out a service connection. So you say now here itself it says that okay, when you're going to create up a service connection, that means authentication. What authentication method you're going to use up? Service principal. In this case, the service principal would be created up automatically within the Azure Active Directory, and the relevant privileges, the contributor rights would be provided to this account. Or else, it is also possible that you can go with the approach of the manual. Manual in the sense you should have the service principal details with you, that to which service subscription you want to attach and connect. So right now you can notice that okay, I've got the same account which is being associated to my tenant. So I'll be able to create. Right now, you've got a choice, the resource group. So if I don't define this, I can pull out the information, pull out the service from any resource group, whichever required. Otherwise, you can specifically point up that, okay, look up from here itself on. So it will be pointing from here only. And let's say service connection, that is for Azure. Is it service connection? Next, the example which you took up was a keyword here, and that was in Azure. It could have been a Google Cloud, it could have been a Azure, it could have been a AWS itself also. So probably you do require a service connection with them itself also if required. So see, once the service connection is all there, now probably if you go back to the project and if you go to the pipeline, go to the library, here itself we create up a variable group. Let's name it demo variable group. Now what I'm doing, I'm saying that okay, go and link up and fetch the details from the keyword. The service connection is there, and down below it will be able to identify my keyword. See, but the project, the variable group is not authorized to access that one. Authorized in the sense it has to have at least minimum two set of permissions. One is a get and one is a list permission. So when you click on authorize, it's going to create up the set of permissions so that the variable group and go and connect to the keyword. Now, once it's been done, now if I say add, now I'm referring. So these secrets are coming from where? These secrets are coming from my keyword. I say, okay, I'm going to use this one, and I've already created up a variable group. Let's say, okay, I'm going to use this one for my build, let's say, project A build pipeline, for example, say. So once it's been done, now if I go back to my pipeline here, it's there. It's variable group, and here it's you can say link variable group. This one. So once you link up, you can see that those secrets are here. So if required, you can link them in such a manner, or else, let's say, for example, you can go and add up a task for the keyword. This one. So if you're particularly looking up for that, so you can just say add. Wherever it depends where exactly the placement happens to be. It needs a service connection for that one. And from which keyword it has to fetch and the secrets, right? So this way it reads, let's say, whether you want to fetch up from here, whether you want to fetch up here, it's up to you. But prior to that one, the service connection and the keywords and the secret should be ready.
So build, we are creating a build and putting that into keyword and again fetching it back, right?
Come up again.
So we are creating a build, we are creating some variables out of it, variable groups, and that we are putting into the keyword. Again, we are bringing that back, right?
Obviously, you are putting away credentials here, and during the build, if you require any reference of the credentials, you are pulling out from there and then building a solution, right? Or maybe
Okay, got it.
if in case you do the release, tomorrow if I do the release itself, right? And during the release, you want to set up a connection string or the username and password or some variables. Probably I can add up a task or I can fetch up from the variables, and these variables are already linked with my variable group, and variable group is already linked to my key vault, and the key vault you're fetching from there itself. So you're not allowed to modify anything here. Now tomorrow, in case if I say that okay, I want to go and update my password or something, I'm not going to give you an access here so that you can go and modify it. Right away say the relevant team is going to update it here, right? So say tomorrow if I say that okay, I want to update it here, so I'll say new version. So the link is already there, the reference is already there. So when the next time update happens, obviously it's going to fetch up the new credentials, right? Rather than you go within the code and make up some changes here itself. So that's also one of the other benefits. And now in case if you go with other multiple other pipelines, probably you can use the same variable group. Okay.
Okay.
All of you. So one is this possibility. Other one, let's say for example, now if you go to one of the pipelines here itself, see, you can edit, run, manage the security, and delete. Let's edit. All right. So you can manage the security from here itself also if you want. Otherwise, let's say for example, if you want to go with a YAML based, okay, so probably let's say you can add up. Either if in case if you already exported up, you can import up a pipeline. You can export and you can import it itself also if you want.
Rajesh, Srinivas here. A question on the keyword. Can we also add application level variables like connection string?
Yes,
and all?
like say the database connection strings like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is possible. Yeah, that is possible. That you're gonna see within when it comes to the release. Maybe let's say at that particular point of time, you can see that example. I'm gonna show you that one.
Okay.
And release we are gonna talk about tomorrow. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So let's say now, let's say for example, my code is here. I'm going with the YAML base, right? So within your YAML, what your I guess someone had asked for the YAML pipeline on the day one, right? Who was that? I don't remember the
It
name.
was me, Sriram here.
Oh, you were the one who were talking about how you can build up the YAML pipelines, right?
Exactly.
Okay, okay. So this is like say I'm creating up. Let's say I'm going with the ASP.NET. It comes with the editor. Now let's say for example you want to go and define up the tasks. You can all add up a task itself also. Or if in case if you're willing to add up some variables, you can define those variables too. And let's just say. So by any chance, if in case if you're willing to edit that one, so here itself you can see now more tasks are there. Now tomorrow if we say that okay, I want to add up a task for the key vault there. So let's say okay, you have a service connection, you have a key vault here, all right, and say add. So it depends in which section would you like to add up. So you can move up and down if you require. So you can keep on adding multiple. What you did, you just created up a YAML. So where itself you are defining for each and every task, whether it is for the build, whether it is for the publish, whether it is for the Maven packages download, .NET packages downloads, and other support testing, anything. All right.
Everything is fine with me, Rajesh. Only the line number 30 to 35. That is the confusing part.
Which one?
This published part. See, what is .p .deployment true? This is where I am totally getting confused. Again, platforms are dollar build. So they're again assigning a variable. So how can I customize this one?
How you can customize these ones? See, at the moment right now, see that again depends on the project. Like say they are already using our default variables, so you can modify them if you want to.
Okay. No, but what is this deployment ID equal to true? And because everything is self-explanatory. And something ./p, things like that. So the reason for asking me, this one is I
Oh,
just got an opportunity to
these
see a
right.
news.
These ones you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let me take you to another pipeline, just a second. If I go to one of these pipelines and see, these are nothing but, I got your point, what you're referring up to. See, when you define up a task, right?
Correct.
Any task, it has got multiple control options. Run this
Yeah.
task, even the previous output, where exactly. So let's say for build, which version it's going to pull up, what arguments, what variables. See,
Exactly.
these are the variables which are coming down from here. See.
Yeah, so I have a question there on the build that variables was defined task, right? On the build solution, if you go to build solution task, yeah. So this MS
MS
build
build arguments.
argument, this was my question previously before we went on a break. Like when the solution is built, there is something called post build event. I want to skip that, and I'm not able to find the configuration to be put here to skip that post build events from the solution.
Okay, so let me make a note down of your query. What exactly, what do you want to skip out? Just like, can I have
Yeah, post build events from the solution. Like every project we put in .NET post build events, right? So I want to skip that during this actually, because those are meant for a developer machine, not for a packaging or a pipeline. Yeah.
okay, so you want to skip it out, this one, right? That this post build event, right? Okay, I'll just make a
Yeah.
note of one if in case whatever, if in case I can help you out with the best part. So give me some time, then I'll figure it out, and how you can do that, I'll guide you. Okay.
And can you please go to that the other screen, Rajesh? Here, the dollar, /p deployment on build. So I got a chance to look into one of the production pipelines. The guy who created this YAML file, he has done lot of modifications over here, and I was totally confused. So that is the reason I was just asking, what is this? So he was just putting that into some folder, but I was not getting what this is exactly. So
Well,
what are they trying to do with this?
see, let's say this is your package location, right? This is like say dollar variable, which is your in your pipeline. Within your build pipeline, this is one of the package location, right? This one, where the build is being published. If you see here publish artifact, see this is the one, which is a Azure pipeline by default.
So if you call somewhere from dollar build artifactory directory, you will be getting that information, right?
See, when you go with a dollar, that means they are pulling out the information for the variable. They are coming up. See, this dollar is something which is referring to the variable from here, right?
Okay.
See, they're using the
Okay.
they're using the build variable, and if you see into the task, if you go down here, see they are pulling out those variables, correct?
Correct.
They are pulling out from there itself. So those variables are being pre-declared here, right?
So if you want to modify here, you can modify it, right?
Oh yes, you can. Even the same can be done within your YAML itself also, but that is possible.
Okay. Got it.
But
Alright.
what is the use of updating here? Yeah, already that is defined, right?
Now his concern whether it can be modified or not, or that was his concern, right?
No, again, now I have to again re-look into that pipeline. Only then I'll get a picture. So now I was just asking because even I cannot, that's into a production environment, so I cannot share the screen as well.
You can have a look into that one and get back to me tomorrow itself then.
Yeah, please.
Now you get back to the project, you have a look to that one, what we want
I'll
to,
do that definitely.
and then you can discuss with me that one on offline if you don't want to discuss with everyone here. All right, that's up to you.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's better, Rajesh, because 60 people are there. I mean, small things also,
Yeah, I don't want to disturb everyone itself, right? So we can take it offline. You got my email address. You can reach out to me on my email address directly itself. All right.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So this is how we can go and set up, and we can go with the variables and triggers. All right. And definitely the badges, right? When the build permits, saver of number format, history. So that's how you can set up. All right. So right now, if I take you back onto the organization setting, if I go back to the billing, see here itself, at least when you go with the DevOps organization, they are providing you some free parallel jobs which you can run, whether it is a self-hosted, whether it is a Microsoft hosted. But probably, let me tell you one thing. see, in the last couple of months, they have made some changes. And let's say, for example, even though it is showing you 1800 minutes for the Microsoft hosted agent, still then, due to those changes, you cannot use the Microsoft hosted agents to run the build. It's going to throw you the error saying that there are no parallel jobs available as of right now. Although it is showing you 1800 minutes, but still then it doesn't work. And due to those some Microsoft backend changes. So to do that, if I want to use the Microsoft hosted agent and if I want to use some parallel jobs, so probably there are two approaches. So please have a look here. I'll just guide you. So I'll just show you first of all that error. That what error comes up, then you will understand. So let me go back to the pipeline. And this time I'm pulling up new pipeline and say classic ASP.NET. And here itself, see, I'm picking up the Microsoft hosted agent. Right? The agent pool itself is Azure pipeline, which itself is a Microsoft hosted agent, and this is the agent which I'm picking up the image. So all those images are here. It depends which one fits your requirement. That is up to you. And now I'll say save and queue. Now I'll show you that error. See here, you get the error like say this. I'll maximize this one. You get the error like say no hosted parallelism has been purchased, and they will ask you to fill up a form like this one. All right. Here, this is a form which will allow you to open up a request, and you can mention your organization name, whether it is a private or a public project. At least they will give you some free parallel jobs so that you can execute the build onto the Microsoft hosted. But again, one thing, there is no SLA behind this one. It might take a 2 or 3 or more than that itself also probably sometimes. So that whenever you try to run up any kind of a parallel job or any kind of a build or a release or anything, so it means the jobs to be running up. And by using Microsoft hosted agent especially, so for that you need to fill up the form. Otherwise, if in case if you are not willing to wait for that much of period of time, then another approach, if you want to have a quicker one, then probably this is one of the other approaches. So if you go down to the billing, see that was one approach. And another one is you can set up a billing, and if in case you've got an active subscription associated with the same account, you can associate there itself, and then you can configure your Microsoft hosted agent and set parallel jobs as one. This one, although you're getting free, but that's not going to work for sure. And after setting up the billing, you say at least one parallel job, and then say save. Now, if you go back and run that pipeline, by using the Azure Microsoft hosted agent, so run the pipeline. Now you can see that it's going to work fine. See. So that small change needs to be done. This is the link. I'll just share it up. But again, here itself you need to mention your organization name, the one within which you're going to use up. Right. So that's the complete organization name, dev.azure.com/your organization. All right. So this will, if in case many times what happens, many of them, they are not having the Azure subscription. So probably for them it will be beneficial. But if in case if you already have got Azure subscription associated up, you can set up a billing in such a manner, and then you can run up you can take up a benefit of the Azure pipelines. agents by using the Microsoft hosted agent, or else go with the self-hosted. But again, the self-hosted has got a challenge, right? And that challenge is basically to meet your requirements. All right.
Yeah, Rajesh, can you show that option again from where that form open?
Or from where the form open, basically that happens to be when the error comes up. In the error itself, you've got a form. So this is a standard form, right? This is nothing specific. So it's a standard form. So I'm already sharing this one onto the chat for all of you. So I've shared this one. So this is maybe this, you should have a DevOps organization first of all, and then after you can put up a request. This is mainly for the Microsoft hosted agent, right? Not for the self-hosted, whether it is private, whether it is a public projects. So the link is there on your chat. Or else, if in case if you've got already a subscription, then you can go and associate there itself. So as soon as you associate, if you go down to the Azure environment here, I'll show you the resource group. See there itself, it creates a group like this one. A resource group gets created up, Visual Studio Online. And there you can see that which project is being managed and maintained. And you can also identify the resource cost. This one. So now the billing of those parallel jobs happens to be from your Azure environment. This way you can manage. So two approaches, either you go with this approach, either you go with this approach. That's the one which I showed you. But this one is going to take up some time, and this is instant.
Rajesh, you said if we reach our limit, then only it will come, right?
Say it again.
If we reach a limit like 1800 minutes or like that pipeline
See,
runtime.
see, I told you, although even though it is showing you the 1800 minutes right now for the Microsoft hosted agent, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Earlier it used to work, but last instance, last couple of months, that a small change has been done from Microsoft. So probably that is the reason for which they give you this flexibility, right? Even though it's showing you 1800 minutes, currently it's not going to work. Earlier it used to work for sure. Why? Because we have been testing a lot. So, but now since last a few months, it has been. That's the reason they published it, saying that to put up the request like this. Because not everyone is having the Azure subscription, right? But this is also one of the other alternate choices, the way you can do it.
It will not work forever, or what? It will not work for some time, or like that.
See, that is again up to, we are just waiting for the update from their side, but this is the current state as of right now.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Rajesh.
That is the current state. If in case any change in the future, definitely yes, they are going to update us itself also, rather everyone. Okay, but as of right now, currently this is the state. All right. So now probably I'm going to give you some exercise. Now the one which you're going to try it out. So let me share some link with you so that you can sit and practice, all of you. And I'm going to be here so that if in case if you got any questions or any queries or something, you can let me know. Okay. So now,
Just one question. Sorry for interruption. Like in Jenkins, I set up a few jobs. There I created a jobs like parameterized jobs where I used to pass branch name as a parameter, and that it takes to build. So can we do something like that over here?
let's say, for example, you say that, okay, you got a branch. How many branches are there? One, two?
Yeah, one to default is master thread. Let's say I've created some release branches and I want to give release branch to people there.
You got a okay. This is also one of the branches. You say that okay, you got a release branch. Okay. Now you want to use this one for the build.
Yes. So instead of modifying the job, right, I just want to pass that as a parameter.
Oh, so you are not willing to modify from here. So let's say, for example, if you say,
Yeah, I don't want to modify the job because we are hard coding there, the master, right?
okay, so just let me go to the pipeline first of all. So you don't want to modify from here itself, right?
Yes, yes.
Although you got a choices, let's say which branch would you like to pick up from where itself you want to do a build.
Yeah, but every time I need to come here. So there is a business case over here. The team of developers are working on one feature. So they have their own user branches, right? So once they check in, they want to test and build it. So for that purpose,
Then see probably whatever the best approach, what I think or what we have seen up, let's say you can just create up a separate pipeline for them itself if you want to. So that they can be connected to that particular build and they can test their release rather than you keep on messing up with the existing one.
okay, you are suggesting each separate pipeline for each branches.
Probably you can go and combine them, but again, this will give you a better isolation itself and convenience for you itself also, so that you can go and specify that okay, from which branch you want to pull up. Maybe let's say there is a developer team and they have got multiple features which they have developed and they've got a separate branch and they want to test it out. So it's better to give them a separate pipeline and then give them the flexibility to test it out rather than you mess up with the existing one. That is what I think. What do you say?
But that is one of the feasible solution. But we are duplicating that job, right?
Yeah, but again, this. I'm not saying this is the only approach, but this can be considered as one of the approaches.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
This can be considered as one of the approaches, right?
Yes, yes. Okay.
All right. Okay. So guys, I'm going to give you some access now. So say for instance, let me go down here. See, although there are many labs, the one which you can try. So let me just give you two possible choices here. See, this is one of them. You can try it out. And another one which you can try. Yeah, this is the one at the moment right now, which I can give it to you. See here itself, they will make you create a build pipeline template. And remember one thing, like say when you're performing this, they will make you import up a project, right? The way we did it on the day one by using the DevOps demo generator page. From there itself, they will make you import up a project which is parts unlimited. All right. And later on, they will make you set up the pipeline and set up the triggers. And then you're going to track the review and the build and test it out. So it's just a continuous integration, right? Not a release. So this you can do for a small practice right now, just for your.
Do we have to use our passcode for this?
See, as if you're doing the build, and right now, I don't think so. This will be very immediate itself. All right. So this is gonna take about 2 to 3 days time. So what you can do, you already have the Azure passcode, all of you, right? Azure passcode is there, promo code. So first of all, preferably I would suggest go with the Microsoft account, then redeem the Azure Pass by going to the www.microsoft Azure pass.com, which I've already guided, but again, so first of all, go with this. Now, once you redeem the Azure promo code here itself, redeem. And so once you've got a subscription ready, use the same account to go with to create a DevOps organization and go and set up the billing. All right, and associate with the Azure subscription and set up the Microsoft hosted agent paid parallel jobs. Sorry, parallel jobs to 1. Okay, and then save, and then you'll be able to run. So preferably go with this approach. Why? Because this approach is going to take some time. Okay, please. Although you can keep it for the further reference in the future itself, but as if right now, as you are going to do the build, so for that itself, this is your information. All right. So please redeem your Azure passes and this way. I guess by now everyone should have received the democ and the promo code, right? I guess so. Everyone must have received. Okay. So go and do the setting, and then this is the lab. Okay. So this lab is going to take at least 45 minutes. So you can please try it out. So I'm sharing this link on your chat. But please make sure that you're following the guideline and make sure that you're importing the right project. Forget about this one, right? The Windows 10 machine. Forget about this one. Just do it on your own local machine by using the browser and make sure that you're creating up the project. But before do that one, please perform this activity, right? Otherwise, your build is not going to work and the build is going to give you the error for the parallelism. Okay. So you can start with the lab, you can start with the practice right now. I'm going to be here so that if in case if you need any assistance, if you have got any query in between, you can just unmute or you can put up onto the chat, either way, whatever you feel comfortable. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Rajesh, Dilip here. I have one query. Like, how recording we are going to get it?
Dilip, we usually share the recording link by the end of the day itself. It was being shared yesterday itself also. I guess it was there under the meeting chat in the morning, which I had seen.
Can you ping once again, please? Because I do not see this. The chat was missed.
Can anyone has anyone copied the recording link? Or Dilip, what you can do? Can you just log into that LED panel, right?
Yeah, I tried, but I do not see there.
Okay, so I guess someone might have already copied that recording link. Can you say, okay, it's there. See, thank you, Mohammed. Yeah, thank you so much, Sabuddin as well. Also, thank you so much for sharing. Dilip is there in the chat now.
Yes, I can see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And whoever is joining up, so the link is there on your chat. So please keep on marking your attendance. I'm sharing the attendance link once again. So please don't forget to mark your attendance for today itself. All right. Thank you. See, so far itself, what we had talked about yesterday itself was all about the source control. So this was the entire discussion yesterday for the versioning, for the tracking, updates, and talking about multiple branches, setting up the branches, defining up the permissions, policies, restrictions, making up the updates, setting up the pull requests, and setting up the merge with the approvers. And we had also seen that how you can push the changes, or you can pull the changes from your local repository to the remote, or from the remote to the local itself also, by using any of the ID tools. So we had used the Visual Studio, but although it can be used by any compatible ID tool itself also, right? Now the source control, what exactly it had, let's say that was a repo, right? And there itself we had the code. Now the code which is there itself, which is this is just a simple code. This is not the one which you're going to directly deploy onto the target. Just putting up the code doesn't mean that your service is going to be deployed. No. That means that I need some sort of a artifact. Now, what is our artifact? Artifact is simple. In a simple understanding, we can say that this is some like deployable package. The one which can be deployed. So we need an artifact. Where is this artifact coming up from? Where is this artifact built in? Where it is being published? Where it is being stored? Who has got an access to the artifact? So the purpose says that once the source control, the repos and the code and the versioning is being done, the second phase becomes that, okay, I need some sort of an artifact. So which gives us a deployable package. It can be in any kind of a form. It can be a script, it can be a template, it can be an ARM, it can be a Terraform, it can be any executable. So I need a deployable package. So who is going to build up the deployable package? Where are you going to execute? Where are you going to compile it? That means I need some sort of a compilers. Although when we talk about the real world, it's a real scenario. So there are many products. Let's say, for example, the Jenkins, we know that. The Jenkins allows us to go and define up the tasks, the jobs. And that product itself also has got all the prerequisites, the way you can go and compile up and create up a deployable package. Maybe an artifact can be a Docker image itself also. Tomorrow, in case if I'm willing to install and deploy the application, my services as a container, definitely yes, you need to have a containerized images too. Even that can be considered as an artifact. Or let's say, for example, if I talk about the infrastructure as a code, where you want to willing to go and deploy the templates, even those are being also considered as the artifacts. So the question here comes up, okay, how you get the structure for this? Obviously, in many cases, you're having the code, you're having a application design where you're producing up the front end and the back end. Definitely, you will be having some sort of a credentials. Where are you going to store those credentials at also? So somewhere itself, I need this. How? So for that itself, what we are going to set up? We need some sort of a pipeline. We need a pipeline itself. Now that particular this pipeline is somewhere itself we are referring them itself as a Azure pipeline. Although it's not necessary that okay, I have to take up a benefit of the Azure pipeline to so that I can get up an artifact. No. Maybe I can just keep up the code into my repos. I can go with the source control and the artifacts are being built by some third-party products. They have been produced by that. But on the other hand, so we can also leverage the services of the Azure pipeline. Where itself we have got two sections. First of all, we have got a build pipeline and you got a release pipeline. Here itself also this can be segregated. Okay, maybe that the build is happening from a third-party product and the release is happening by using the Azure pipeline. So by any chance, if in case if you are willing to introduce or if in case if you are willing to integrate some sort of external services. Now, what is an external service? Something which is outside of my DevOps organization. So maybe let's say, for example, I want to go and integrate with the Jenkins. I want to go and integrate with the Team City. Or maybe let's say I'm going to integrate with the GitHub. Or maybe any other product. So these are all, let's say, for example, you want to integrate with Azure. Any kind of a service. So it can be any external service, right? External to what? External to my DevOps organization. So this requires now this entire portion comes up as my DevOps organization. Where itself within the project you've got a pipelines, right? So you get a project. So for which particular project I need to go and integrate the external service, that again depends too. So at times, if you say that these external services can be connected towards my project with the help of a connection, and that connection is being referred as a service connection. So service connection is as good as, let's say, we are authenticating, we're authorizing the project to utilize the benefit of those services. Just creating up a service connection would not help us out. Tomorrow, if I say that, okay, I want to go and integrate with my Jenkins, I need a service connection. Then only I'll be able to utilize them into the task, into the pipelines. So service connection would be required for most of the external services. Tomorrow, if I say that, okay, I want to go and deploy the service onto the Azure from my DevOps organization, I'm setting up a pipeline. But how the DevOps organization would come to know, okay, which subscription you're talking about, where is the service is running, where exactly you want to deploy. So what do you need? You need again a service connection for that. So once the service connection has been established towards, and this has been done at the project level itself. If you go to the project setting, there itself you'll find up a service connection. Likewise, this one here. So if I go to any of the projects, and down the line here, if you go to the project setting, there you'll find up a service connection. This one. So tomorrow, in case if I'm willing to deploy something onto the Azure, so obviously I need a service connection or authentication. By any chance, let's say, for example, if I want to utilize and take up a benefit of all my Dockerized images, and those Docker images are being kept in the Docker registry, I need a service connection so that I can go and fetch it out. Not only fetch it out, maybe let's say tomorrow if I'm creating up an image and if I want to push up the image somewhere into the registry, the Docker image, I mean to say. So prior to that one, you need a service connection. Similarly, they say, okay, you go with the Jenkins. Or by any chance, let's say, okay, I'm going to set up a Kubernetes cluster and the deployment of the containers has to be done onto the Kubernetes. So obviously you need a service connection for the same. So these service connections are mainly being created for any kind of an external service, and this is necessary. Okay, by the way, I was talking about the build, right? So in this case of a build pipeline, there are various components. With the structure for the pipeline is common, whether you talk about the build, whether you talk about the release. So particularly if I'm talking about the build here itself, so the build pipeline has got what? So the pipelines can be, these pipelines can be created up in the two different formats. There are two approaches. Whether I can go with the YAML based, whether I can go with the classic based. A classic editor rather. Both the approaches are approachable. You can use any of the approaches. Many of the companies, they say that, okay, we want to go and create up a YAML and we want to integrate all of the tasks. So even this is possible. Or if in case if I want to go with some sort of a predefined templates, I can pick and choose of them. So that makes it convenient. So within that particular pipeline itself, what are the components? What does this pipeline needs? What if in case if I'm talking about the build pipeline here, what does needs? It needs where exactly your source is coming up from. The source in the sense where exactly my repo that the code is available. Now, is it really necessary that the repos only have to be the source of the code? No. It may be a situation, okay, my code is into the GitHub, it's in the big bucket. So there are various sources. So tomorrow, in case if I want to go and create up a pipeline here itself, if I create up a new pipeline here, so it says, okay, where exactly your code is. Maybe let's say, okay, if I've got a Bitbucket, I've got a YAML configuration, I've got a GitHub or Subversion, even with the classic edit itself also.
So, hello. So, Rajesh, so only these 4 to 5 sources available in Azure DevOps, right? Like this big bucket and this, just the previous screen you showed us.
These ones, right? Yeah.
Only these ones, right? So apart from that, if we want to connect to other means source like Subversion, Subversion is there, but
Okay.
other we cannot do.
Other Git is also there. Subversion is there itself. You got a GitHub, you got a GitHub Enterprise Server, you got a Bitbucket.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
JFrog is not here. JFrog.
Okay.
All right. What else?
Yeah, sorry, Git EA. I would like to add this Git EA.
Come up again.
Git EA.
So in those cases, see, basically, like say, first of all, you need a service connection for those products, and then after probably can pull out those codes from there itself also, it's possible.
Okay,
All
that's service connection details in Azure portal where we need to see that one. Can you please show us?
Which one?
Service connection, which we have created. If we, is there any?
Okay. So we don't have any service connection right now itself. If you see here, there are no service connections as of right now. Okay.
Okay, we need to create in DevOps. Yeah.
So see, definitely we are going to see some of the examples, and we will be using some of them itself also. But at least you should understand that this is the one which allows you to go and create up a connection string. This is as well. So before taking up a benefit of these services, you do require a service connection, first of all, in hand. It's a better approach. All right. So we are going to see some of the examples. So at least with that example, you can understand that how we can create up a service connection and how we can leverage the services too. All right. So we were talking about the pipeline. So in this case, we need a source. The source can be any of those sources.
Rajesh, hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So suppose if we are using, for example, SharePoint as our source code, means where we are storing the source code. So can we use it in our pipelines as a SCM tool?
So you're keeping your source codes within your SharePoint in a that means it is coming up in a file share, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yes, if in case, see, there is a possibility you can fetch out those source codes from the external sources, and that can be one of the public file shares. So definitely, yes, you need to provide us the connection, the authentication, and that public file share should be accessible and the port should be allowed. So definitely, yes, you can pull it out from there. But again, the integration has to be, it has to be a bit customized, but it is possible. Tomorrow, let's say if you build up an artifact and you want to keep up those artifacts in a file share in some additional external storage rather than you store into some of the other storages too. So even in that case, the file share storage is also possible. Similarly, let's say, for example, in Azure, you've got a storage. In the Azure storage itself also, you can get up a file share. So from there itself also, you can pull it out or push it out your artifacts too, if required.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Right. But again, see, as I said that the conceptually it is possible, but practically itself, there's small modifications are required for sure. So in the SharePoint itself, it's a file share, simple. It's SMD. So you just need to provide the file share path. And obviously just not providing of the path, it has to be the public accessible path itself also. So that the services are able to connect to that service and fetch it out or push it out if required.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So we'll come up with a questionnaire round later itself. Let me go with my flow itself right now. I'll definitely give you some time so that in which you can put up all your questions too. So that will be a common time for everyone. So rather than disturbing the flow itself. So let me finish with this part. Okay. So in that case, when you talk about the pipeline, into the pipeline itself, what do we need to configure? Definitely one of the key components which has to be configured, which is none other than your job. And the job has got a task. Now, when I say job, when I talk about task, what I'm talking about the task, which task I'm talking about? I need to set up a workflow. I need to establish the flow itself. Now, during that process, if I'm saying that, okay, if I need to compile up a package, some process has to be defined. From where the source is coming up, what packages are required, depending on, let's say, whether it's a .NET, whether it's a Java. So definitely you need some packages, like Senegal packages are there, Maven packages are there. Definitely, I'd need those packages to be downloaded and installed and configured. You might need to have some sort of a task, let's say, for the code validation, for the code debugs, for the code analysis, maybe some test runs. And definitely, yes, let's say, for example, you want to copy the artifact, you want to publish the artifact, you want to build up the artifact. So what you're defining? You're defining the task. And where exactly these jobs are running? These jobs are running somewhere into the agent. So you do require an agent. If I'm saying that, okay, if I want to go and integrate with the Jenkins, so Jenkins is acting as an agent for us, where itself the job and the task could be executed, no matter whatever the task you're going to define. So that means I need one agent, or maybe let's say multiple agents. So that agent, if I refer about, these are two different categories. One of them is referred as a Microsoft hosted agent, MHA, Microsoft hosted agent. And another one, you've got a self-hosted agent. So this is being managed by Microsoft. This is being managed by the customer. Now, what are these? Whichever agent you refer, whether you talk about the Microsoft hosted agent, whether you talk about the self-hosted agent. The self-hosted agent would be taken care of by the who? By taking care of the customer. And this is actually a server. A server, it can be a physical, it can be a virtual, either. That means it's a VM. Here itself also it's a VM. But this virtual machine, the one on which the agent and the components are being configured, that is all being taken care of by Microsoft, and they do have some standard images. Those images are being installed onto this VM, and that VM is being provisioned when the pipeline is being executed. So every time a new fresh VM is being deployed with a fresh image. Now these images are what? These images are basically based on what? These are based on Windows, these are based on Linux, these are based on Mac, Apple. So these images are the bundled images. Tomorrow, if in case if I'm building, if I've got a .NET application, a ASP.NET application, definitely I need certain kind of a standard component which is going to help us to build up that image too, or that artifact. I've got a Java based. Or maybe let's say tomorrow, in case if I'm building up an application for the Linux, definitely I need a Linux image. But what exactly this image is, what exactly it contains. So there are Microsoft hosted agent here. So into the Microsoft hosted agent, definitely you find up the standard images. You've got a Windows Phone 19 for 2016 with the Visual Studio, Ubuntu, Mac. Now this, how you're going to take up a decision that which one you're going to go for. Tomorrow, if I say that, okay, I need to build up a software, I need to compile up a package, definitely that needs a Linux or Ubuntu as a base image. Whether it is classic, whether it is YAML. But what exactly these images are containing? These images are containing all the included softwares, which is going to help us to compile that entire product. So if you click onto one of these links, you'll come down to here and see that, okay, what that image contains. It has got all the language and the runtimes. Package management tools are there. So what are these? These are nothing but these are all the dependent components which is going to help us to build that artifact. So these images are the standard images. We cannot go and customize them.